We are today focusing on matters inclusion. We're trying to discuss whether our TVET education is inclusive, and if it is, could we expand that space? What is the context in which we are working as far as inclusion is concerned?
Can you include somebody before you include yourself? Perhaps I should have worn my white coat or my green theater attire, because I still do both. And perhaps if there are any technicians, plumbers, they should have been very proud to wear, even their trainers, they should have been very proud to wear their dust coats. Because that is the perspective from where we start this problem.
We have some 60 sector skills advisory committees within technical vocational training. And this is the precursor to inclusion, because all stakeholders come together to identify the technical needs analysis, the occupational standards, the curriculum, the work integrated learning standards, the assessment standards.
There should be a seamless growth and continuity of our children, and therefore the engagement that we have today. So CS, I would want to assure you that we are working with our colleagues at the various levels of learning so that we make sure that our children are able to grow to be the people that we expect them to be.
We actually had an incident, I won't mention which county, where a trainee with a disability said, I went to a special primary school, my certificate reads special school. I went to a special secondary school, my certificate reads special. I don't want to go to a special TTI because there will be no special job. So now I want to go to an ordinary TTI so that I can be like everybody else. That is food for thought.
When exclusion and marginalization takes place, then you lose some of the opportunities that the youth would have accessed in terms of developing soft skills, in terms of developing technical skills.
Whether we are talking about curriculum, whether we are talking about policies, whether we are talking about special needs, how do we integrate gender through and through?
If only a few people thrive at the expense of everyone else, the iniquities that we suffer will continue to follow us.
Acknowledging everyone is different and advocating for equity, to respect the natural order of the society, which is the family.
Bringing the various people on board. There may be advantage, there may be disadvantage.
Most standards are being turned away. Sometimes the BOM members actually saying, oh, this school we cannot have, such. Sometimes it's the teachers saying we don't have the capacity, So for me, to a large extent, is the implementation, but also very closely related to the budget issues.
Cultural and attitude change. When you go to a school and you are told masonry is only for boys, so girls do not join masonry. So you have that the culture that the girls should not do masonry at all. So you remain that way. So the parents also should learn to educate their children well, and also the public and the society at large.
The way we do our instruction, it's a bit of exclusive. So yes, language, which encompasses the way we do the instruction, the question of our curriculum. So there is need for it to be adapted to fit all of us.
If we have leaders who are passionate about inclusion, then we can have this inclusion agenda being pushed.
On our definition of inclusion, it was involvement of all interested. We also defined it as the nexus between equality, equity, and liberation across all groups and cultures, for example, gender and social groups. Also, assistive change to embrace the marginalized in terms of people with disabilities or refugees, and also allowing meaningful participation in activities of all persons in the society, and taking into account all social, economic, and political factors for all.
The barriers to inclusion in the TVET sector, and we also identified about 7 points, but the one I would like to emphasize, because the rest have been also talked about, I think the lack of understanding of the needs of the excluded. When we talk about the exclusion, we are talking about not just the person with disability, we are also talking about those who are living in the marginalized areas. We are looking at the gender as an area of exclusion. We are talking about the socio-economic disparities in this country, regardless of where the geography, where those people are placed.
The paradigm shift is important. The youth are not seated here today, they are few. I was with them in my group there. But we need to look at them more differently. We're not designing things for them from a problematic perspective. I think we need to see things from abundance view and eye. That they have so much, we just need to tap into it. They are a huge resource for us. And TVET provides that space for us to be able to get youth as a resource, but not a problem to be solved.
More editing is going to be done to the statement so that they can pass the test in terms of capturing what our minds are in regard to the thematic areas that we have identified. But the number one is awareness creation, and we are going to look at the statements. Then the resources, we have passed the resources. We have talked about curriculum and making sure we domesticate the curriculum and connect it with the industry. We have talked about policy and legal framework and making sure that the M&E is strong enough to help us to be able to follow through what is happening in the industry. I think what has not come from the floor is something that was put up there, and it was about the training of the trainers. That again, we are going to look at it. We have the five areas, the 5 barriers, and the strategies of the same.
We've actually looked at the inclusion in 2 perspectives. One as a component that will inform the national conference that will be looking at the curriculum, and also it will inform the content of the curriculum. So we have looked at it in both the process and what also will inform the content of the curriculum. And I think at the end, everyone will feel that the product of this curriculum or the education reforms will have been participated. If we do it right, we will all take the ownership, and if there will be any problem, we also take the ownership of any other challenge. And I think we have done the right thing. And as authority, we want to say thank you very much for the support that you've given us, and also making this day to be successful.